because I am the only one who speaks to next to that, what is that, director, VP,
Mhm.
vice president. I got appreciation mail and it was recognized by all over the Cisco
Okay.
and Infosys. So people knows me that hey, nothing will happen. But I'm worried about
Hi,
this.
Levin. I'm there.
Hi, Srisha. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we will start.
Something is happening. Is that a one or which one is it?
That even close to the same session itself. She has joined.
Same session?
Yeah. I mean, same session means I have stopped the meeting and started it again.
I think I'm joining some other session.
No, same. I mean, you can log into the.
No, got it. The AWS plus session. I have joined.
Okay. So now what we'll do is that there is a small topic before we go into the user and group management. This is very important. Okay, you need to understand the concepts first very clearly. So we'll learn something about hard link and soft link links in Linux. Okay. So before we start with hard links and soft link, let me just give you some introduction about inodes. Okay. So in Linux, what happens that every file or directory, whatever it is, okay, let me explain another way. In Linux, everything is file. Everything is considered as file, right? So if you see a directory, that is also considered as basically a file. Okay, and you have a hard disk device that is also considered as a file. You have a hard disk partition that is also considered as a file. You have a network card, you have a processor, you have a the graphical card, anything hardware wise. The Linux, it considers that as a file. File could be different thing, different type of files we'll talk about later. But for time being, understand that everything is considered as a file. So now when you issue the ls-li command, okay, so if we look at ls-l, you can see that I command means inode. Where is that? Inode. See this? Print the index number of each file. Okay. So you need to ls-li, sorry, but I. So it prints the inode number. So it's just to in a formatted way, we use ls-li. Okay. So the first, so okay. So the first number, or the first field, what do you call? Okay. This is the first field. This is the second field. This is the third field. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth. So ls-l output basically has got what to say 9 fields. Okay. So the first field here basically shows you the inode number. Inode number is nothing. It is just like a what to say index. Okay, index number. Like for example, when you open a book, you have some index, right? Index page. So if you click on that index page number, for example, index pointing to 15, so you will be taken to the page number 15, right? So it is what it is. It's just like a pointer. You got it? Yeah. So basically, your file where it is written in a hard disk in somewhere location. It may not be that your file is exactly written completely on the same location. It could be in different points, different sectors. Okay, but where it starts basically it's okay. That is where your inode number is. Okay, a file will only have one inode number. Okay, so this inode number is basically which determines that file, or which the OS or it determines or it recognizes that file.
It should be unique also, right?
It is unique. Okay. Okay. So this is based on this is what we are going to learn about hard link and soft link. Okay. These are interview questions. something which I'm going to tell you or teach you in this thing. Okay, people will ask you questions about this hard links and soft link. How do I identify what is the difference between hard link and soft link? Okay, and please, one more thing is that apart from what I teach you, okay, basically for the concept wise, when you get free time, please also Google, right? And have a practice of learning or reading many articles, specifically from authorized sources. Okay, don't just rely on only the blogs. Maybe blogs may not be correct always. People might post something wrong, maybe not intentionally. They have learned something and they may be not correct. Okay, so there is a documentation site called tldp.org. Okay, you can write it, tldp.org, the Linux Documentation Project.
TLP.
TLDP. Okay, tldp.log. I will just basically. Can you see this now? Can you see the share screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me know that. Do you see both the screen, that is terminal and this, or only one?
Only one.
Only one. Only one thing can be shared through this, right? Okay. Okay, good. So you can see that's the Linux TLDP basically means that Linux Documentation Project. So this is basically the authorized source of documentation, and it has been there for a very long time. Correct? Cool. So you can basically go to downloads to see what is it? There are different combinations and all those softwares out there, and basically you could also go for where it is, main site. I've been using this for a long time. How to see this introduction to Linux, bash, guide for beginners, GNU command line. So these commands basically may not be all commands be completely for exact match for Red Hat Linux, because there is general commands which could be used across all the distributions, but there would be some commands which used specifically for Ubuntu or Debian. Okay, so just feel free to explore it. And for example, if you look for introduction to Linux, so I'll say that maybe single file HTML. So you can see about Linux. Okay, history. What is Linux? Where and how do we start Linux and Linux? Okay, all those yesterday's the history and all those things, whatever is right. So you could basically do, is this Linux different? Linux for non-experienced users. Many things are there. Okay, so just I'm not saying that we go entirely with all those things, but whenever you have free time or maybe what you get, go through at least once. You should go through the history of Linux in a reading, maybe whenever you get time, right? In your mobile or something. So maybe you could take this and have a good read about it, right? The directory structure, all those things, we will look into more, some more details when we complete the basic fundamentals and all those things. So just have a look on this site. This is very good site basically. I have referred this site a long time back when I started learning Linux. Okay, so back to our this thing, terminal. So ls minus li will give you the output of give the output along with your inode number, which is very important. So if someone asks you, hey, what is the inode number? How do you see your inode number in questions or interview question? How do you have to say that ls minus li in the first column is something which you see the inode number. Okay. So now coming back to a story of what is soft link and hard link. Clear? So basically, we'll talk about soft link first, right? Soft link is nothing but like yesterday when we were looking through the ls minus l output of slash, you see something in blue color, no sorry, light blue color, right? Which is actually pointer or arrow, something like that. You see something like here, ll slash, see this one, lib 64 has been, right? So when you see this line, you understand that this is actually a what? This is a soft link. Okay. So soft link is basically a pointer, or it is basically a shortcut.
Liju,
Yeah,
quick
please.
question. What is a link? Before when you go into hard link and so forth, what exactly is a link?
Sorry, say it again.
Okay, my question was, uh, what are links? Are you referring to a file system or
Yeah,
how?
yeah, correct. So links basically, as I told, the links is basically 1 minute. You can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. I was thinking that it is top straight. Okay, so link is nothing, it just identify that it is just like pointer. It's like a shortcut in Windows.
Okay.
You see, you create a shortcut in Windows, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That means that your file could be somewhere in D drive, XVC, and all those things drive inside some folder. There could be some executable which you don't want to go there every time. You can place a shortcut in your desktop, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This is something links are considered to be a shortcut.
Okay.
Just for time being, understand that key, the links are basically a shortcut, or it's a pointer to some file or directory which you can access using a link which you have created.
Okay.
So the best example would be the shortcut in Windows. Some file or directory is there which is basically in a deep path in some location. For example, you have got slash user slash lib 64 slash xyz slash abc slash y slash x.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of going to that location, you create a link somewhere in location where you can easily access. Correct? Right. So we will see that
Okay.
where hard link and what is the difference between hard link and soft link and where exactly it is used. So hard link, so difference between a hard link and soft link that we will come across. So basically a soft link or symbolic link also it is called as, is actually a link to the original file, correct? That means a shortcut. Whereas your hard link is basically a mirror copy of the original file. Got it? Mirror copy of the original file, but if it is in the same directory where you are creating a hard link, it should be in a different name, correct? The name, the earlier rule follows here also. That means in the same directory, you cannot have two directories or two files with the same name. Okay, you cannot have two files or two directories with the same name. Okay, so we'll see that about the hard link first. For time being, understand that the hard link or soft link is basically a pointer. But soft link, basically, I would say that it is a shortcut to the original file. But hard link is a mirror copy. Is a mirror copy. When I say mirror copy, everything remains the same, including the inode number. Right? So your question was about that it has got a unique number. Right? So hard link is the only case where you see that two inodes are of the same number. Correct? In that case, you can identify that there is a hard link. But there is no way to tell after you create a hard link that which is the original file. Clear? Got it? So we will look on commands basically first to understand how this is created. So you'll have at least some understanding of hard links and soft link. So I'm coming to the temp directory, and I'm going to create a file called maybe Liju. Okay, I've written something here, or maybe just some text, something useful. Okay, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to redirect slash etc dot release. Yeah, it's already there actually. There is a file called slash temp system. Okay, there's already a file called system data, so let it be there. So what I need to do is that I am going to look ls minus l I on this system data. So you can see that this inode number is there, correct? Now I'm going to create a soft link. So the soft link has a pattern. So LLM is the command to create a link, where it is hard link or soft link. Okay, so you do minus help. So you will see that there are some switches associated with it, correct? You can just read through the switches when you have time. So I will tell you basically how to create a hard link and soft link. So soft link, if you want to create, you used to follow a flag named -s. Okay. Now,
Is it L or I?
L, not caps letter, small letters, lowercase. Then what you put is that you put system data is my original file, correct? And I will say that system data 1. It is not necessary that the name should be same, but just to identify and all those things I'm putting here. So do LL, you see, system data is now pointing to this thing. So how do I identify a soft link? First method, that it is maybe in color, but this may not be, you cannot identify this color basically when you're writing a script or something like that. So another method is that key, when you see this first column, first field, see, you can see that what?
LRW means right. Directly, it is showing the
L. Okay, this L, if it starts, it means it's a symbolic link. Symbolic link. Okay, now I do cat system data, I get this output. Correct? I do cat on system data 1, which is a link file, I get the same output. Right? ls minus li system data, right? And I put ls minus li and system data 1. You can see that the inode number is different. Okay? Clear? Inode number is different. So what do you see that? In soft links, inode number are different. Okay? Now, mkdir test. So it's already there. A good directory is already there. I'm going to create a link to this directory. ln minus l test1, sorry, test and test1. So your pattern is basically how ln minus s, your directory which needs to be linked, and second here will be your link name. So see, test1 is there. Clear? You do cd test, you will enter the test. You will see some files are there. I'm coming back here. cd test1. I'm seeing the same file. That means you are in same location. Correct? So cd double dot means you are going to previous directory. Correct? If you see in cd single dot, that means you are in current directory itself. Clear? Now, so what the other point is that you can create a soft link to directories also. Okay. Not only file. But in the hard link, let me complete about soft link. Okay. So again, the soft link L is there. Clear? Yes. So soft links can be for files or for directories. ls minus li test. Sorry, ls minus ldi. I'm looking only for the directory and test1. So see, the links or the inode numbers are different. Correct? Which is true. Now, 1 minute, don't write this comment. Okay, for time being, I'm going to boot /boot. I'm going to, there's a directory over here, grub2. Okay, and there is a file also called this. So now coming back to temp, I'm going to create a link ln-l where /boot this config I'm putting. Okay, I put or this. This is our kernel. We'll talk about this later when we come out. Okay, this thing, and I will tell that kernel. Clear? See, the kernel points to this. So what you have learned? A soft link can also be created. So /boot is a different partition. It is not under /. Even though it says that its directory hierarchical structure is on /boot, but /boot here is a different partition. We'll teach you how to identify that later. Okay, /boot for time being, understand that is a different partition. Okay, not necessarily /boot. You could have some other directory, but here in our installation you have only two partitions, / and /boot. Okay, and swap, that is a different thing. You can't write directly to swap it. So here what you have learned, second thing, third thing is that a link can also cross partitions. Soft link can also cross partition. That means you can create a link to a directory or a file which is there in some other partition. Okay, and your link can be in some other partition. So here my link is in under temp, which is under, of course, under / partition. And I'm going to create a link to grub2 or grub here. Okay, and grub2 is a different directory in a different partition, which is /boot. So soft link can cross partitions. It can be linked to file or a directory. Inode number is different for source and destinations. Clear? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is that MV means I'm going to rename it or move it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is that MV test1. Test1 is the link file, right? Test1 to test3. Okay. So what will happen if I do ll test3? What will happen? It will see that ls -l test3.
No, test1 wasn't before test1.
Okay. Test1 was there, which is pointing to test. I have renamed it test1 to test3. So if I go to test3, what will happen? I will see the contents of test. So what is the third thing? The next quality of the soft link. Even if I rename that link file, but the source will not change. Even if I renamed the test, that is the link name, that's destination or the source, original source is not going to change. Okay, but you can write to it, right? For example, I'm going to test3, I'm going to mkdir ABC. You can write there. You're basically moved into it. Sits again. You are in temp test3, but it is actually a test directory where you are in. Correct. So if you move to /temp test, see the same data. So what do you learn from this? Your link name can be changed, but your destination doesn't change. Similarly,
just a question. When you change the directory name, will the inode number also change, or will it remain the same as the previous one? When we link?
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Let's see that. So you see that the inode number is this of test3. I am moving it to test3 to test4. ls-l test ls-l test4 and I. See this? Clear?
Okay.
So the inode number remains the same because we are not creating a new file, we are just renaming it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So these are important points. Okay, because interviewer might ask you some tricky questions to understand whether you have got understanding of these very clearly or not, or you just know the command ln minus s to create link, right? That is not enough, because in order for to troubleshooting and all those things, you need to understand the basics very well. You need to understand how a link works, how these things works. That's why I told about inodes at the initial stage. Okay, you need to understand, or you also have to, after going home, just do some reading on what is inodes in Linux. Okay, there are lot of what to say documentations on inodes, and it could be really big doc which you don't want to read completely, because it's maybe for advanced users, developers, and all those things who need to have a very good understanding. But for a system administrator, you can have a basic understanding of what really inode matters. Okay, clear? So this is the thing, and now what I'm going to do is that there's a system link MV. I'm going to rename system data to system data 2. Okay, so system data 2. Yeah, but still, what happens that it points to that thing. I can edit this thing, right? And I can do the system data. The destination target has changed. But if I rename system 2 as a rename from system 1 to 2, the data doesn't change. Correct? It points the same thing. Correct? Now, rm minus, or I move mv system data to system underscore data. What happens? Cat system data. No such file. Why? Because this was pointing to where?
System data.
This was pointing to system data. Correct? Now I have renamed the file from that to a different file name. Correct? So let's come to the point back again. I am moving from system data to system data. Okay. Now the link is active again. Okay. ls minus li system data 2. See the inode number? MV system data to system underscore data. Correct? Okay. ln minus li system data. Sorry, ls minus li, not ln. System data. Correct? So you see, the inode remains the same. Correct?
Yes.
The inode remains the same of the original file, that is system data, and the name which has moved on. Correct? So renaming doesn't change whether it is source file or destination. We have seen. Then why, even though your link file is pointing to this file, correct, which is basically inode, and inode number remains the same, and why you are not able to access the data?
Because we move the file.
No, the inode remains the same. We have seen here, right? The inode number remains the same of different files. Correct? Different files, then I moved from here to other. Now this file doesn't exist. Correct? So
Yeah.
this proves that soft link doesn't points to inode. Correct? Soft link actually points to another location, basically, which is a reference to that particular inode.
It doesn't depend on inode.
It is not pointing to inode directly. It is not pointing to inode directly. It is basically pointing to, for example, A, B, and C. What soft link does is that it doesn't point to C directly. It points to A, and A instead points to C. So if you rename if you rename A, if you rename C, so what happens that B is not pointing to C instead, because B was pointing to the original file name, which is not there. Correct. So the next property of soft link is that if you move or delete means you cannot record that. If you move the original file name or you change the name or anything like that, the link will not work. Soft link doesn't work. Correct. So soft link should only be pointing to the same name which it was there original. So if I move this thing, what to say, system underscore data to system data, now it is back again. Correct. Irrespective of, I am deleting it system data. I am deleting this file. I am creating a new file. System data. Sorry, I am creating a new file. What to say? System data. New file. There is no contents. Okay. Text. What happens when I do system data 2? It points to test. So the thing is that inode doesn't bother what was the contents there, or it doesn't point to it, only points to the name. Correct? The contents has changed here. Now the soft link is active, but it is pointing to the same file name which has got different content. But this will get cleared when we talk about hard link also. Clear? So now we will talk about hard link. Yeah, your questions?
Yeah. Is it right to say that they're like alias in Windows system, like
Alias is different. Alias is maybe you can say that it's a shortcut. We do have alias in Linux also. Alias is nothing. Yeah, alias is nothing. It's just a shortcut. So as I told that you could basically compare SoftLink as a shortcut in Windows, but it's not exactly shortcut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alias is exactly what you have alias in Windows also. It's just like you have a log command. Instead of typing that log command, or if there is some command which is maybe tougher to remember, you can give your own name to put
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you just mentioned that if we change the name of the source directory or a file, then obviously it loses the link. I mean, the link is lost. It cannot identify it. So I thought maybe they're similar to alias. That's what happens there. So
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Yeah. So now we will look on hard link. Hard link, as I told that the main the concept of hard link is that it is basically a mirror copy. So let's have okay, we have a data called system data. It's not, we have something called test here. There is already a soft link to system data. Okay, and I will create a hard link. Hard link is directly nothing, which is directly ln. So the original file system data, and I will put what I put. Yeah, maybe put system data underscore hard. Okay, to just identify. So we have got system data hard. So we will put ls minus li system data 2, and system data underscore hard. See, the soft link has got a different inode, even though soft link point to system data, but the original file and the destination file has got same inode. That means you cannot distinguish whether this is a hard link or this is. Now you can distinguish because you got a different name for it. But provided you create this on a different directory, correct? Different directory, you cannot identify that which is the original file, because both of the file has the same inode. So identically, it is a mirror copy. This is a single entity. Like for example, I am sitting here. Someone from this window can see me, and someone from that window can see me. But they are both literally watching a single person who is sitting here. Correct? So that means he can also see me, the other person also cannot see me. Correct? But that doesn't mean that there are two persons sitting here. Okay. There's the same here. So literally, hard link is a same file, right? So this is what you see by looking at the inode. This is something which you want to be very thorough in your mind. Correct? It's not that key inode is same. What you want to be very thorough is that hard link is not different file. Hard link is the same file. You are just adding a different pointer to that. Soft link is not pointing to that inode, but here the hard link is pointing to that inode directly.
So
Correct?
then
Even if you remove the source rm minus f, or you move the source, okay? I'm not removing it because or maybe just remove it. Not rm minus. I removed it. Okay, and of course this file is not there. Correct? Can see the soft link has gone because it was pointing right. But did the inode gone? No, the inode is same. So can you see the data here now? Can you see the data here now? What was there in the system data?
No. If it is
Yes.
soft, oh,
You can see because where the data is stored in the inode pointer, right? So even if you delete the original, the destination is there because there is no original and destination. As I told, right? Someone blocks that window with a curtain. Am I gone?
It's
No.
not visible
Am
to
I
me,
here?
but
It's not visible to me. Correct?
In case of soft link, it is
Soft link is pointing to third party.
once it is
What? Yeah, soft link. What I will say is that he instead of looking me directly, what he's saying is that he is saying to some other person and saying that, hey, can you check that if Viju is sitting here? He says, yes, Viju is sitting. But if that person is gone, he cannot see me. The other way, he is virtually seeing me, assuming on belief of the other than that there is a person sitting out.
that's through another
Yeah,
reference is-
correct.
So basically, it's used for hackers to avoid access.
No, it has got many other applications in Linux.
So if I want to see edit a hard link, and specifically I want to know which is the hard link. How to
You cannot identify. I told that, no? You cannot identify.
nothing.
No, nothing. You cannot identify at all.
if we naming convention while renaming, we
You
need
name it some as a hard link to just identify purpose that you can do. Okay. So now hard links. Now what I'm going to do is that ln/boot grub as a directory. Okay, hard links can ln test1. Okay, what it says? Hard links not allowed for directories. That means hard links cannot be linked to a directory. Got it? Now ln/boot, we will try another file. Correct? VM Linux 3.this. This is a file in a separate partition. Correct? I am putting kernel 123. See what it says? Fail to create hard link. Boot invalid cross device link. That means hard links cannot cross partition boundaries. It can only be created in a same partition. You can create a hard link to a directory in some other directories in the same partition, like in slash. But if you are creating this, that's the reason why I've shown you example of /boot, because /boot is a different partition. So you cannot create a file or directory in that partition to link this.
within a same
Yeah. Hard links, the two things, hard links. Sorry, the first thing is a hard link is not a different file, it's the same file. It has got the same inode number. Okay. The other thing is that okay, it cannot cross partitions. It cannot be linked to directories. So other thing is that, so here you can see that key hard links, hard links, correct? Do not consume space because it's the same inode. Hard links do not consume additional space because it's the same inode. But soft link does consume space because it is creating another reference because it has got another inode. Clear? So this is something which you need to have thoroughly understand about hard link and soft link.
Hard link is a mirror copy of a file.
Mirror copy file because it cannot be linked to directory.
No, I was just confused.
Yes,
File only.
file only. Okay. So hard link basically you can say that it uses inode to link to access the original file, but soft link you do not use inode to access the file. It uses a reference. So soft link, original file gets deleted or directory gets deleted, soft link is invalid. It just, you can say it could be a dangling link. Okay. But hard link, the original file gets deleted. Sorry. Still you can access the file because it is pointing to inode. Right? You cannot identify whether it is a hard link, but you can identify soft link. Right? So hard link is the same inode numbers. Okay, dissimilar to soft link because soft link do not have same inode numbers. Hard links are restricted to its own partition, but soft links can cross different partitions or file systems. So
I'm just checking. After deletion of the file,
yeah.
In hard link, after deletion of file, we can access the file because
it links to inode.
Yeah, because it links to inode.
Yeah. So now I'll put LM. Okay.
Yeah.
So this clear? Any questions on hard links or soft links? So if you are in some doubts or something, just do ls minus li on that file or directory to ensure that it is hard link. Soft link you can easily identify because there will be a link towards that.
Later, just a question. With reference to hard links, so can a file have more than one hard link or any number of hard links?
Sorry, Srish, I didn't get you.
Okay, with respect to hard links, can a file have more than one hard link because they're just copies of each other?
Yeah, you can have, like for example, LLLN. Okay, system data hard. This may be considered as the original file. You can put system data hard 1, right? You can put system data hard 2, right? ls minus li, system data start. See? You can have multiple files with the same inode. These all are same.
Yeah.
Similarly, you can have soft links also to different files. For example, ln minus s, I'm having a soft link to grub2, and I put it as grub, and I can put it as grub1. Correct? You can have two links pointing to the same thing, soft link. Similarly, is with the file also. Okay.
Yeah, but the inode numbers will be different in case of soft links, right?
Yeah. Okay. So do some practice on this basically after you get your Vim installed, so that this is clear to you, right? So because soft link and hard link, these things it could be easy now, but when you do some practice, so it will be more thorough. Okay, I would say that basically don't spend much time on doing because you will get bored. Basically, when you're typing in command mode, just spend 10 minutes. You do some reading initially, and then maybe the documents possibly I will share it today or maybe tomorrow. Okay, I will just upload it to Jagdish. I'll send it to you, and you can just upload it there. Okay, so that all the cheat sheets and all those things, or maybe some reference doc, maybe external also, I just paste it out so that you can go through as a good read whenever you have time. Clear? Okay. Now, what we will do is that we have got some time. Okay, let me complete this user pattern because this is important and this is maybe you all know that possibly you also worked on Windows or other operating systems. You all know that what is the importance of users, correct? User group, because in a big organization, it may not be a single administrator who would be administrating the system. There could be many users, so they want to log into the system. So Linux is a multi what to say multitasking operating system, multi-user operating system. That means many users can log into the system and have their own sessions running, their own things running out there, as well as it's a multitasking. That means at the same time it can do many tasks at the same time. Maybe an application running, they could be processing something, they could be compiling something, they could be copying something here and there, depending upon your system's performance. If this all thing could happen in no seconds of time. Okay. So basically, before you use any command, please read the command, that is man user add. Okay. So first thing I told you, we are going to read learn about user. Okay. The command to add user is user add. There is also a command called add user. Add user, but mainly we are interested in user add command because there is more extensive use and they got a lot of switches and all those things. Okay. So first thing, man user add. This is your assignment or task that you go ahead and read the man page. Okay, not completely at least, but then what is this used for? Just read the description. You don't have to completely by heart the switches. Just read the description, what it is, what it does, and possibly what you can do is that you can read you can look for these files. Okay, all the files may not be important, but there are some files which are important, which I will tell you. Correct? Okay. So the second thing what you need to do is about the same thing about man page, that is user add minus help will give you a comprehensive output. Give a comprehensive output, right? Second, other thing is that basically you need to know where is this user add command and the man page located. Correct? So this is also something. So this is applicable to all the commands which I'm going to do. So going further, I'm not going to tell this again. So please issue these commands when you learn, when you're home, so that you make a practice that you know about these things. So whenever you do a command, use all those things, at least when you are learning. Correct? So it becomes a practice that you learn about these commands and you understand. Okay, so minus h or minus help, both are same thing. So this will be like it says here, minus help. This is the short form and this will be the long form. Each of the these are basically not switches or flags. Clear? Got it? Okay, so now we will see a command. Before issuing the command, we will see that basically user add command minus d. Okay, user add command minus d, basically some things which are important is that when a user is added, correct, there are some parameters which are taken automatically. Okay, just add this user add minus d command. So there are some command when you issue the user add command, there are some parameters to that user which gets added on. So user add is what? User add is a command to add a user. But when the user gets created in the system, there are some parameters or the subfiles or something is there which gets automatically assigned to that user. So where does that come from? That is where it is located here. User add minus d. You see that the home directory of the user will be /home. Just like in Windows, you have got /C. You will have users, right, or Windows users, right? Wherever you have the users home directory. So by default, it will be in inactive state. Okay, it doesn't have an expiry date at that time. That means user doesn't expire. By default, the shell which has got. We'll talk about shell later or later in this class when the thing. The shell means, see, this, the terminal, what you're looking at is a shell. Correct? It's a shell, basically. Correct? Where you basically work on. You can issue commands. So that's the shell. So there are different type of shells here. So if you want to look on what shell you are working on, you can do echo $shell. Right? You can write this command, echo $caps letter shell. So this is the command which you basically use to understand that which shell you are using it. By default, we use bash shell. There are other shells like KSH, CSH, other shells are there. So bash has got installed functionalities, features. Okay, so bash is something a de facto standard, but different organization might use different shells for their purpose. By default, Red Hat shell is bash. Now there is a skell directory, or you call skeleton directory, that is etc skell. Okay, so if you look at this skell directory, you can look ls -l / skell. You'll see that there is nothing in this directory, 0. But if you look ls -la, there are 3 files by default in this. Okay, so what is this? So these are hidden files. Okay, so when a user gets created, these files automatically gets copied to that user's home directory. Clear? Okay, and we're talking about something known as group physical 100. This is a group ID which gets created, but this we can control all those information later. And all this information we can basically control by using different flags. Okay, so I will teach you the first thing is that how do you create a user. Okay, so now I am as a root, a normal user cannot issue these commands. These are system level users. For system level commands, only a what user? Root user can issue those commands. Okay, so which user add? Okay, so other important factor which you should keep in mind is that any any command which is there in sbin is only accessible by root. Okay, any command which is there in bin normally are accessed by some other or normal users also. So sbin means super user commands or super user binaries. Okay,
Even normally we can see, but he cannot access. He can see the command.
Commands you can see because everyone has got access to all the directories to see, just to see. Okay, so I'm adding a user add command, user add, and I will tell you the first user is user add 1. Okay, I think there is already a user named user add 1. What I will do is that
User A.
I have already maybe created a user. Okay, so here I'm going to add a command user add, and user 1. Okay, so I have created a user here. Clear? So I haven't assigned any password to this. Let's try using login to user 1. But a normal root user can get to that by using su command, su space minus command. Okay. If you are log in sud, he will log in as to the home directory of that user 1. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So su is only to test purpose. Okay. Normal user cannot do this. I mean, specifically he had to log in. So if you log in from here, if you log in if you where it is Maybe I have to share my other screen. Okay, here is my server, user 1. Okay, I have not given any password. He cannot log in because there is no password associated with it. So a normal user cannot log in without assigning the password. Okay, so now coming back to my original SSH session. Clear? So I have logged out. So there is another su command which I'm showing you. Su, I'm not using this minus. Correct? So you see where he is directly. He is into the temp directory or wherever he is basically. Before he was logged in. If I'm in root directory, so he is logging as root, he will be in
User.
/root. As I told that now, see the difference of su user and su minus user. Correct? So when you are using su minus user, he will be in that user's home directory. But if you are using su user, so depending upon where you were, who were you? I mean, I'm specifying to the root user who is doing su. So the root user was in /root directory before. Now he's in su minus 1, sorry, su user 1. His current directory is root. But if you do ls, you'll get a permission denied. Why? Because this is root user's home directory. No one can access that. If you want to do that, you want to press cd. So cd means you will take it to the user's home directory, pwd. Correct? So here there is a difference. I mean, mechanism to show you what is su minus and su minus 1. So minus means that you should always use su hyphen or minus, because this will help you to use the environment variables. We'll talk about environment variables later. Because environment variable is when you log in as a user, what all features are available for that user in that environment, what environments are set there, that will be applicable. Okay, otherwise the user who are logging in as using the SU, his environment variables will be used up, but that will not be applicable to that user. Okay, so let's come back. We are in the users, so there is no password. So first thing what you need to do is that after creating this, now you have seen that inside /home there is a user named user1. So when a user is added, correct, user add using user add command, a directory under /home is created.
Default.
Default means yes, that's what I showed you about skel, right? /it is sorry, user add minus d.
Sorry. Just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Let them finish. So you can inform us that 5 minutes break.
Yeah, Srisha, we'll start in 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Just be here. I'm not. I'm just pausing the recording. Yes, Srisha, we are starting. Okay. You there?
Yeah. I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. So where we did user add, right? So when you do a user add command, or when you add a user using the user add command, by default, what happens that a user's home directory by the name of that user, correct, will be created in /home. You got it?
/1.
/home.
Oh, okay.
Right? We have created a user named user1 using the user add command. So when that user command add is added, a directory under /home will be created. This first thing. Now the second thing is that ls minus la /home user1. See, you have seen some files which gets copied, right? So these files are basically copied from the skel directory, etc skel directory. We have seen ls minus la /etc skel. Correct? These files gets copied. Correct? These files are created because we have logged into this user as root. Let me explain here. User add user2. Now ll/home, sorry, ls minus la /home user2. See this? Is there any other directory? Do you see? No. Right. These two directories, do you see there? No. And the history, do you see there? No. Because no one has logged here. Once this user or any other user logs in, then these directories will be this file, this bash underscore history and other two directories gets created. Got it? These are hidden files. That means if you do ll on /home user2 or user1, you will not see anything. Hidden files. This is only for user. These three files is very important because these files can control how a user, what happens when a user log in and what happens when a user log out. You can customize. These are customizable folders. It's not specifically system levels. Clear? Cool.
So like you can have the privileges also, right? After 4 hours, if it's not available, means immediately log out.
But this is under his control, right? If you don't want, why do he want to automatically do that? If he wants, say that okay, I'm about to say I'm inactive for this much amount of time or doing something, then please log out after that. That he can do. Or he wants to say that when I log in, just play music file. That's also possible. Correct? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now, just the objective of this command is to add, say that key when a user adds, what happens? Okay. Now there is one file called /etc password. This is very important file. Just you need to copy or just copy it on this file. etc password. There is another file called etc shadow. Okay. There is another file called etc group. These three files are very important and you should remember this. When we look on the permissions, we will look on what this means. Okay. So now /etc password. Okay. I'm using just okay /etc password and just grabbing for user. You can see that we are just interested in only this last two lines, right? You can see that when this user creates an entry in this /etc password is automatically made. What this means? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 fields separated by full column. Sorry. Clear? The first field will be the username. Second field will be the X. I will tell you what this X is about. Third field is about the user ID. Fourth field is about the group ID. Okay. Fifth field is a comment for the user, or you can call it as GCOS value. Comment for the means if I want to give a comment for the user, means system administrator, or he can give his name like user1 XYZ. Right? This is GCOS value basically.
Spell it out.
GCOS. Or you can call it as comment.
GCOS value.
GCOS value. Normally it is technical term is called GCOS value. The sixth field is basically the user's home directory. Right? And seventh field is basically the user's
Typing GUI.
shell. So this field should be remembered basically. Why? Because tomorrow you want to write a shell script to list out the user's home directory. You can basically do a cat password and filter out the sixth field and the first field. You can say that this user has got this user home directory and this shell. Clear? So these are practical examples which you can do, and we will be doing this. Clear? Now there is another file called shadow. This we will look on in more details at a later point of time. Clear? Because this needs some more, what to say, prerequisites to be covered before you understand that. Group. Look on this last one. So now say that whenever a user is added, there is something called UID. You have something known as inode number. Similar to that, not similar, but identical to that, you can say that when a user is created, that user will have a identification number, which is called UID, user identification number or user ID. Similarly, when a user is added by default, that user will have a group ID created. Group created, and that group will also have an ID. Clear? So by default, what happens? When a user is added, a home directory is created. Some files are copied into it from etc skel. Entry in slash etc shadow is made. Entry in slash etc password is made. Correct? And what happens is that a group is created by default. Okay, and that group name will be what? Same name as the username. The username is user1. The group name is also user1. That is for whom? That is for user1. For user2, similarly, there is another group created named user2. Right? So when a user is created, a group with the same name is created. Okay, and that group will also have an ID associated with it, which is known as GID. Clear? Any questions? So this need to be remembered, okay, because this is very important concept. So now normally, but it is not mandatory that UID, this is UID, okay, and this is GID. So it is not mandatory that UID and GID remains the same. Okay. In a Linux distribution from Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7, the default UID and GID starts from 1000. Okay. In older systems like RHEL 5 and RHEL 6, the UID and GID would start from 500. Clear? UID of root user is 0. This is very important, you have to remember. UID and GID of root user. See this, that is the password, grep root. See this, ID, UID and GID, this is 0. This is very important. Clear? So I will summarize once more. When a user is created, a user's home directory with the same name is created under /home. Few files from /etc skel, which are hidden files, are copied to the user's home directory. Correct? A entry in /etc password, /etc shadow is made, and /etc group is also made. Okay? A user with the same name as the username is created. User ID will be created for a user and group ID will be created for that user. It is not mandatory that the UID and GID will be same, but normally UID and GID remains the same, right? UID and GID in Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 starts from 1000 onwards. Why it is given 1001? Because there is a user already named Liju who has been given 1000 ID. So this will increment. The third user which will create, that will have user ID 1003 and GID 1003. Now, for customization, you always have a privilege. When you create a user, you can give your own UID, you can give it your own GID. Correct? But ensure that you don't give any UID or GID below 1000 because those are reserved for system users. Right? Now I'm going to show you that how do you create a user with a specific UID and specific GID. Okay. So this is the command here, -u small letter u and giving the UID. So I am not giving the contiguous UID just for testing purpose. I am giving a higher value of 2000 and GID of 5000. Username is
user here.
okay. Sorry, there is one problem on that. We will just remove this GID at this moment because we have not created a group at this moment. Okay. So by default we will give this. So user is created. So /etc password, if you look on and grep for user 3. You see this? A UID of 2000 is created. Automatically a group named user3 will be created with a GID the same as UID. Okay. Clear? So, okay, now we have created only the user. The second thing, immediately after creating a user, what you need to do is that you need to set a password for it. PASSWD, it's not WORD, PASSWD. So I'll give a password for user1. So by default, if a user is changing his password, so depending upon the securities what is implemented in the system, you should give alphanumeric password. Minimum should be 6-digit or 8-digit depending upon the system security. But root can give any password. So I'm giving 1. It will give me error that password is of is a palindrome because it says that this is like numbers or something like that, right? So it's not acceptable. But user root has got any restriction which is acceptable, it can override it. So now what I do is that I can log in as a user with user1. Okay. I'm
Okay.
just.
But you need to set the password now, right?
I set it, right?
But it gives some bad password.
But I told you, right? It will give a password, but it gives last 2 times. First to enter password and second for confirmation. I give it once more. Is that all authentication token updated successfully?
Okay.
So this is a message that you have to see.
Okay.
All authentication was not accessible. So now I log in with user1 with password 1. I am able to log in. W login. Who am I? I am user1. Clear? Got it?
Yeah.
So coming back to the shell. So now I'm going to teach you how to now, okay, one more thing. /etc password grep user1. You see that there is no change made here. But in shadow, if you look on, there is some additional field which has been populated, correct? Which has been populated after adding the password. Before adding the password, it was something like exclamation mark or something was there. Okay, I just forgot to say that. So here, okay, we'll just look on the other one. User2. See this user2 password is not set, correct? So in a shadow file, if you see this exclamation mark, 2 exclamation mark, that would mean that the password is not set or the password is expired. Okay, normally it is not set, right? Yeah. So here, if you see something like $1, $1, right? That means the password is set for this particular user and followed by some encrypted letters before the full column. That is first, second field. In the second field is for the encrypted password. Clear? Okay. We'll talk about shadow file and password file later on, but just to understand, to make it that what changes happens, because this file is important, you should remember this file. Clear? So now we will talk about group add. Group add. I'm going to add a group, right? Sysadmin. Clear? If I want to specifically add a group ID for this, then you can use -G. So group. So basically, specifically, as in that there is a group ID, so that this should not be mixed with some other users. Okay. So I will give a ID of group ID of 5000. Clear? Group ID of 5000. Just for the safety side, you can give 10,000 rows. Okay. 5000, and I will get sys admin. Now group is created. Now when a group is created, entry in password file is not made. Entry in password /etc password file is only made for users. Okay. Now where this entry is made? This entry for group is made in /etc group. See the last line, right? grep sysadmin. Clear? So we have to use this command, group add. Clear? Any questions on this? Okay. Now I'm going to add a group. Last time we see that we have added a user with a default group, even though we haven't given a group, default group will be taken. Now I'm going to add a user add user 4. Correct? I'm not going to give any UID. Let it take automatically. But I am going to tell that -G, please use this GID or use this group name, either GID or this group name, because this group has got this ID. Correct? Got it? Okay. So now, if I want to use a shell also, okay, this is not mandatory for this, but you can give multiple this line also. If I want to give a specific shell for this user, by default it is bin bash. So I can give bin KSH. KSH is another shell. Okay, enter. User is created. Cat /etc password. Grep user 4. See this? Username to user 4 with UID of 2001 because 2000 is the last user which was created. Okay, so the system will check the last UID which was taken and it will increment 1. And a GID of 5000 is there. Clear? And user home directory and the shell is KSH. You can give password of user 4. Any password you give, password updated. Clear? So you know how to create a user, how to create a user with a specific shell. Okay, home directory you don't have to change, but you can change if provided the user's home directory is present. Okay. Second thing is like you have created a group. Okay, and you know how to create a group with a specific GID also, or without a GID you can use group add group name. It will group ID will be taken automatically, but it is with a specific GID. Okay, like for example you can add GRUP group add admin added. Correct? ATC group is there. Why 5000? 5001 is taken because the last UID GID used was 5000. Clear? So now what you are going to do is that there are two types of groups. One is primary group, one is secondary group.
Primary is default.
Primary is default, right? So here I have got a user who's like for example user 4 is there, who is by default has a primary group of 5000. And what is 5000? Sysadmin. Correct? But this users, user 1, 2, and 3, by default they are having their own groups.
Primary.
These are primary groups. Correct? This user don't have a this user's primary group is something different from his own. His primary group is sysadmin. Correct? Now I am going to add these 3 users to a group called admin, which I have created. Okay, that you can do add. Okay, that I will show later on. Now what I'm going to do is there are 2 groups. There are 2 groups. One is sysadmin and one is admin. I know the group ID and or the name and so I'm going to create a user named Liju. I'm not going to give any shell by default let it take. I'm saying that its primary group Primary group is identified by minus small letter g. This primary group, either I can give ID or I can give the name. And I'm saying a secondary group is minus caps letter G is admin. These two groups should be present. Otherwise, it will show error. That means you need to create these groups first, and then you can add a user to this group. So, sorry, spelling mistake. This admin. Oh, user is already present. Okay, I will put Liju1. Clear? So what happens? If you look on /etc password, grep Liju1, you see that the primary group ID is there. But what happened to the secondary group? 5001.
It is there.
But it is not listing here. Correct? So where is that?
She go to Liju1.
No. You need to go to /etc group and check for 5001. Or check for admin. See, admin is the group, and in the end, you can see there is a user added with a column. Correct? So if you go to and look to that etc group, and if you want to check who are the members of this particular group, you can grep this etc group, or you can do directly this grep admin on /etc group. You don't need to use cat, single command. Now you know that what is this thing. Correct? So if you want to be more specific, you can use caret starting. It will show only this thing. Clear? Now you understand how to add a user, and by default when a user is added, how to add that user into a primary group and a secondary group. How to add a user without any specification by default. How to add a group. Clear? Okay. Now your thing is that you need to go and create a user, right? Next time when you come, this is an assignment. Okay. Next time when you come, create a user. Okay. Which is part of create a user, which is part of or just cut it out. Create a user named local, name local. Okay, or named local user. You can put local user. Create a user named local user with
Group ID.
With sysadmin as primary group and admin as secondary group. Okay, admin as secondary group. This user's GCOS value should be local user. GCOS value should be local user. Okay, this user should have a shell of /bin bash or sorry /bin ksh. /bin ksh should have a shell of /bin /ksh. Okay, you can give any password to this user. Right, you can give any password. Just put this also. Set the user's password to Red Hat. Set the user's password to Red Hat. Okay. Now there's something called user mode command. Always use the help command, user mode command. Okay, etc password grep for user. I got these users. Okay, so now I've already created a user. How do you make changes to this to these users, right? Right. So there's some command known as user mode. I'm going to change the comment or the GCOS value. Okay, I'm telling GCOS value should be in this thing. I'm telling that new user. Okay, and I'm telling which user. I'm telling this user, user one. Correct? That's gone. Now you see, if you look on the password, see this user's comment has changed. There is a GCOS value. Correct? You know how to change the GCOS value. This can be directly added when you use a user add command by using a -c. Okay? Or you can use, you can refer the user add man page to see that what should be used during this. That's an assignment. Right? So here, when a user is already created, how do you modify it? Clear? So here I've got another command, -d, you can change the home directory. Okay. That home directory should be present. It will not automatically create. Okay. Then, okay, these two things are important. Now you see that whatever is listed in etc password file, correct? This is basically the primary group. Okay. This is basically the primary group. I want to change this user's primary group from 1001. 1001 is what the username is. Group name is user1. I want to change it user mode -g from this primary group of 1001 to what I'm going to, you can use UID or name also. I'm going to put as sysadmin. I'm saying that sysadmin is my primary group. And I'm also saying that this user should be a part of secondary group also at the same time. Correct? So I'm saying that it should be part of admin. And which user? User number 1. Correct? So now if you look on user 1, you see his primary group has changed. Secondary group is not listed. Why? Because secondary group is not listed here. It will be listed in group grep admin. See, that user is also listed here by a comma. Yeah. You got it? So user mode command to modify the users. So now it's your assignment that after you create a user, try changing other parameters, whatever is listed in the user mode -l. This is for your assignment or homework for the entire week. Go ahead and change it. Some of the few, see, I will tell you what needs to change. Basically, what you do is that you try changing primary group and secondary group, but primary group and secondary group should be present. Otherwise, it will show error. Okay. Then you can put this -e, c. D we will see because D directly cannot be done because that user's home directory need to be present. Okay, then you can basically use -l. Okay, this shell is important. Yeah, this is enough. So these things should be something you should be able to do. Rest of the things are not commonly used. It's just basically for some specific applications and all those. You don't need this for at least for this exam point of view or for this course point of view. You will not need it. You clear?
Yes.
On this? Okay. The password -l. Okay, or man G password. The administer etc group and G shadow. G shadow is nothing, is just a another file. We'll talk about this later on when we see about more securities. Okay, this time being understand about slash group. Okay, G's password command is used to administer group. Every user can administer members and password. System administration can be used minus option define administrator members. Okay. So what you need to do is that either G password is normally not required because you can at least administer using that particular user mode command also. Okay, but G password, for example, can be used for example, if you want to remove a user from a group, minus D, user one. Okay, I have removed, this user is part of admin and sysadmin. So I just want to remove that user from the admin group. Correct? Removing user from admin group. So if I look on admin, so you see that that user is not there. Correct? So this is also important, but not very important. But check it out. Okay. Good. So now, since we have created the user, we have to know how to delete the users and group. Correct. So group del is the thing to delete the group. Group del, I am going to delete admin. So admin group is deleted. So if you look on group admin, there is no admin group. Only sysadministrator. Admin has gone.
Group del means only for specific group you can delete or only.
I'm deleting a group itself. I'm not deleting user.
Mhm.
I'm deleting a group. There were two group, right? Admin and sysadmin, which I've created. I'm deleting a group at all. So you look at slash etc password.
And what happened that what about that user?
That's what I'm going to tell that. Okay. So here these users will be there. Now you will not understand anything about this because we have not looked into the permissions. Now tomorrow when we will next time when we look into permissions, I will teach you when you delete a group where a user was already part of, what happens to that file. Clear? That we will look later on. Here just look understand that how to delete a group. I'm also creating a group user del, sorry, group del sysadmin. Okay. Now it gives you an error. What it gives? That you cannot remove a group where a primary group is where a user is part of, and this group is primary group of it. You can remove a group if anyone is acting as a secondary, if this group is acting as a secondary group for the user. But if that group is acting as a primary group, you will not be able to delete that. So now here what you need to do is that either you need to remove that user at all, or you need to change that user's primary group to some other group. Yeah. So for other purpose, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to delete the user just for the class sake. But consider an example like, for example, a production environment. Because of some reason, a group name cannot be no longer existing there. Some security reason. Company decided that instead of sysadmin, we are going to use privileged users. So what the first thing what they need to do is that migrate all the users from who has sysadmin as a primary group to privileged users as the primary group. Then all things is removed, then go ahead and safely remove the group. So now here for other safety purposes, what I'm going to do is that for class purpose, I'm going to delete the user. If you are only using user del, please listen here. If you are only going to delete user del command, the user will delete it. Slash etc password, entry will go. Slash etc shadow, entry will go. Slash etc group, entry will go. The same group as that user was having, that user group will also delete it. Okay. But if the primary group is part of some other group user also, that will not get deleted. Right? If a user is having a group of user one, the same name, he is owning the group, it will get deleted. Clear? Now, the other thing is that his home directory will not be deleted. it will be there. Where /home, that thing, correct? So now for that, what we do is that we basically, if we want to delete that home directory also, you do -R, delete that user's home directory as well. User del -R, user 1. Okay. Now, there is another problem with this. He says that I told you that when a user is deleted, the user's group will also be deleted. Now it is complaining about that user. Since we have changed the user's primary group from user 1 to 5,000. So this 5,000 or this what is the 5,000 users GID, I mean group name, sysadmin, right? So this sysadmin is also a primary group of other user, correct? So that's why we cannot remove it. So what we need to do here is that user mode, I'm saying that primary group as user 1 for this user, correct? For user 1, correct? User 1 doesn't exist.
But we deleted them.
What is the user group? Acha, group cannot be removed. That is fine. Okay, we have deleted the user, but the group is not gone. But it shows the error message to you, right? That group is not deleted. Correct? So we look on mode. That particular user has gone, but the group is not deleted. Okay, but for as a safety step, what we need to do is that if you want to do, you can change that group ID to something which is already there and delete that thing. But if it is a primary group and if it is part of some other group also, you can go ahead and delete the user. But a good method or practice is that always you ensure that that users is not part of any group. So ideally, when you decom a user from a server, what you do is that you take off all its privileges. Correct? You remove all its privileges. What you do is basically G password. Correct? We looked into, right? -D user 4 and sysadmin. It's not a member of sysadmin. Sorry. User 4 is not a member of sysadmin. Oh, sorry. This is only for the secondary group, not for the primary group. Okay. Yeah. So here, either what you can do is that you can do user mode -G, and this is the group probably which we have created. Let's see, etc group user 4 is there. User 4 is not there. Right? 2000 is there. So let's make the
user 3 is there. User 1, 2, 3.
User 1,
3 is the secondary one.
Yeah, 111, 102, 103 is there. Correct?
But user 3 is the secondary one. You can delete it. User 1 and 2 has a primary one. Primary group.
/etc password. User 2 you can delete. User 2 and user 3. Correct? User del -R. You can go ahead with user 2 home directory, and this directory user 3 is also gone. Correct? So now, okay. Okay. There is one more command. This is how you delete a user. Okay. There is one more command which is very important. Just basically, normally it's used in the scripts and all those things to identify. This command known as ID. ID is to identify the username or user ID associated with it. ID and you give the username. Okay. So what it will give is that it will give you the UID and the name, GID and the name, and the groups what is there. Okay, this is the same thing both. Correct. So basically, if you want to just go ahead and delete the users, there's no problem. User del -r, and you can go ahead and delete the users. It will give you just maybe the error if it is there, and leave you one. Okay. Now you have all other users removed, correct? And you have got /etc group user del, sorry, not user del, group del, and sysadmin, correct? It is removed, and you have got leju1, sorry, not leju1, user1. So those group is also removed. So now everything is blank and it's back to the normal state. This is how you can clean up. So basically, in a production environment or something, what you do basically is that you have a proper DCOM, whether it is a server DCOM or whether it is a user DCOM, anything. You basically remove all these permissions, right, and ensure that everything is not there, and then you go ahead and delete this user from the account. For example, if a user is there in a company and he resigns and goes somewhere, his account should be properly decommed. Correct? This is how you do. Some companies, what they do is that they don't delete the users directory. Don't delete the users directory, but they remove the users account from the system. Because if that user has put out something, data or something in some folder later, if the company wants to check out or something like that, the root user can check it.
And sometimes they put that I'm no more working, please contact concerned team or manager.
Correct.
It is a very VIP person.
Correct. Okay. So this is about basically the user add and user deletion. There is another few more topics, but I think we will not be able to complete today. It will take me another half an hour to complete that. So we will continue on this session on 21st September. So we will exactly start at 2 o'clock. And a few topics which are left is like maybe the permission, how to change permission. Because now you know how to create a user, how to add a user group, change the group, and later we'll see how to on a file or on a directory, how to change a permission, how to grant permission to others, how to look for sticky page, some special permissions are there, the default permission masks and all those things. So that will take maybe half an hour to 45 minutes. So this we will continue on the next session. So today, what all thing we have learned?
Redirecting, redirection, grep.
Yeah.
And rewrite the file, both error and output.
Text editors.
VMI, yeah.
Yeah. So we have initially learned about redirection, correct?
Yes.
Redirecting error messages, redirecting the standard output. We have learned about standard input, standard STDIN, standard output, and standard error. Okay. We have also studied about how to you redirect the standard output to a file or to a null. We also learned how to redirect the standard error output to a file or to null. Okay. Please practice these things because we will be using these things later in the next session onwards to write some small scripts. Okay. Then we have learned about grep, right? To search for a parameter and grep it out. Then we have also learned about extended grep, that is egrep or grep -e to do that. Then later we have learned about the text editor, which is Vim here. We have learned about how to use the insert mode and the command mode or escape mode. Then we saw how to delete a line, how to yank a line, how to paste it. Then we also learned how to search and replace, correct? Then this is the text editor what we have gone through. Then we have learned about how to add a user, how to add users from default user, right? how when a user is added by default, what all gets created, correct? What all happens, what all files are changed. Right? We have seen some files like etc password, etc shadow, etc group, correct? And we also seen the entries which is there. And we have seen the UID, GID, UID of group user, root user or super user will be 0. And how you can specifically add a group, that is using the group add command, correct? How you can assign a primary group and secondary group to the user. Please practice this all because these are all mandatory questions in examination. They will ask you like create a user with this password and this user should have this UID, this GID, and this user should be this group should be the primary group of this user. All those things. Okay, so practice this very well. And anything which we have missed out? Yeah, we have heard about, or we have learned about hard link and soft link. So hard link is something which is a mirror copy of the file. It points to the inode itself. Any two files or more files or anything which is pointing to a hard link, it will all have the same inode number. So if the original or the source is even deleted, the contents of that thing can be accessed because this basically is the same file, correct? So hard links cannot cross partition boundaries or hard links cannot be linked to directories. Now soft link is something which we have learned, and soft link can cross partitions, can be linked to directories. Soft link is easily identifiable by the L in the permission thing, or you can see that link towards that. And soft link, if the destination is removed or named or deleted, whatever it is, the link is dangled. That means you cannot access this thing. The link comes back, or the link will be stable when you add a new file with the same name, but the original contents is lost. Because the link file is not actually pointing to the same inode, it is actually reference to another pointer which is pointing to the file. Soft link can be directed to directories as well as to files as well as partitions. Across partitions it can cross. Correct? So soft links take up some space in the system because it has different inodes, but hard links do not take space because it is the same object. Okay. So any questions, Sirisha, from you?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So if anything is there, let me know. Maybe you can put it in the chat
Okay.
over there. And if you have, once your laptop is good, if you have any issues,
Yeah.
maybe you also, Bhagavendra, any issues, you can just contact me. Maybe I'm just free from, okay, let me tell you, I normally work in the evening time, so maybe you can call me or just ping me by 10 to 12 or something like that. I should be available. And normally by afternoon 2 to 4, I normally sleeps because yeah, because I will be working in the evening time, right? So later maybe I may not be available because there will be calls and all those things. Okay, thank you for everyone's time and patience. We will continue on 21st September. That is next Saturday. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nish. I'll see you next weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.